Congratulations on taking the first step for your business, forming a legal business entity. I'm attorney Jonathan Feniak, and our company was founded by attorneys. Our goal is to make getting started as easy as possible, but we understand the process can be very intimidating, and there are a lot of decisions to be made along the way. The goal of this video is to explain the ordering process, help you understand the choices and options, and put your mind at ease that you're making the right decisions. Let's get started. When you arrive at our order form, the first decision you're going to need to make is what state your company should be formed in. Many people believe that they have to form the company in the state in which they're located, in which they're a resident. So if I live in New York, I must need a New York LLC. If I'm in Texas, I must need a Texas LLC. That's absolutely not correct. The location of the owner is really not important at all. What's important is the company going to be doing business in a particular state? If it's going to be doing business in a state, then it should either be formed in that state or it should be foreign registered in that state, so having been formed in another company and then registered to do business in that other state. But there are a couple of bright lines that we like to recommend to our clients that they look at. Each state's laws vary, but the bright lines are, is there going to be a physical location in a particular state where you're serving the public? If you're going to open up a storefront, a coffee shop in North Carolina, you need to have a North Carolina LLC. This does not apply to a home office. It does not apply if you're going to a co-working space. It doesn't apply if you're an e-commerce business or doing consulting from afar or have video calls and so on. That's not doing business in that state. And you can have an LLC in any state you want. You can have an LLC in Wyoming, which is a recommendation that we make, or you can have an LLC in a state like New Mexico, which is another state that we highly recommend. The other bright line is, will you have employees in a state? So even if you don't have a physical location, if you have W-2 employees, and I'm making a big distinction there, actual W-2 employees located in a state, you should probably form your company in that state or foreign entity register it in that state. But I'm not talking about independent contractors, and you, as the owner of the company, are not an employee. Right? You are not getting W-2 wages. You're going to get your dividends from the company if it's an LLC, or if it's a corporation, you may be receiving board fees. But if you're getting W-2, if there's W-2 employees, then at that point the company should register in the state where the employee is located. So if you've come to us to form a holding company, you should choose Wyoming as your state. It has some of the best, most protective asset protection laws and privacy laws in the entire country, and the state legislature is constantly adding new benefits and features for all of those LLC owners. The next question you're going to be faced with is, let's choose Wyoming here. What should you do? What's your desired service? Your desired service, you're going to be, depending on the state in which you've selected, there's different services which may be available in those different states. Wyoming is a state where we offer our entire slate of available services. As you go down this list, you see Start a New Company. This is where the majority of people who are visiting our website will go. This would get you started on the track. We're going to ask you questions about the management, about the name, about all these different things. That would be the choice you would make if you were starting a company from scratch with us. The benefits of it, of being in Wyoming, we've already discussed briefly about the asset protection. Some of the other benefits of our company are what you see where it says every company includes. That's just a short list. There are a dozen or more different available products and services, and what our companies are provided, the companies that are formed with us are provided. Another choice on this page, which is fairly common, is a continuance. A continuance is a moving of a company. This would only be available to you if you already have a company and wanted to move it to Wyoming. Let's say you formed your company in Texas and you figure out, based on our prior discussion, man, my company doesn't need to be in Texas because I don't have any employees. I don't have a physical location there. I could reduce my costs significantly because Texas is one of those states very expensive to form and maintain a company. I can reduce my costs by moving my company to Wyoming. It's called a continuance. It goes by a number of different names, maybe also called a domestication. This, though, is going to move that company to Wyoming. It's going to give you your first year of registration services. You can read those things on the side panel there about what it does include. So that would be if you already have a company and want to move it. Another common choice is going to be a registered agent only. Registered agent only, there's really two ways you would arrive at this choice. One is that you need only a registered agent. You're going to file and form your company yourself. But you need someone who will receive your service of process, so legal documents, in the state in which the company is formed. So we can act as your registered agent in all 50 states, and we will fulfill that role whether we formed your company or you formed your company or you formed your company previously or not. And so you click on that option. You can either switch to us if you have another registered agent or have been acting as your own registered agent, or you can make that choice if you would like to form the company yourself and select us to fulfill the requirement to be your registered agent. Keep in mind, if you form the company yourself, you're not going to get privacy, and that's one of the key features of all of the services we provide. Is privacy is huge for our clients and it's huge for us. So we're very happy if you want to use us for only a registered agent, but you will not obtain that privacy. Finally, you would choose this option if you're doing a foreign filing. So if you already formed your company in Wyoming and then you decide to get an employee in Texas, we would do a foreign filing for you in the state of Texas. We'll act as your registered agent there and get that filing done. The final group of choices here these are some of our most complex and honestly most expensive products. Most of the choices here are going to be ones that you really need to talk to one of our intake specialists before going into this area. They will explain the products to you, explain the cost. Some of them may show that the product only costs $1, but that's just to sort of get us started. You may have to sign an engagement letter. There may be a very detailed questionnaire or attorney consultations involved. So before you go down this road, please contact one of our intake specialists. They're all US based and paralegals who will be able to assist you, answer all your questions about those products. So let's go now. We're going to start a new company. So we've chosen the state of Wyoming. And you can scroll down on the page here and then go continue to entity selection. After you've chosen your state and entity type, you will either go to the entity selection page if you've already worked with us before and already have an account. If you haven't, then you will come to this registration page where you'll be asked to create an account. None of this information is shared publicly. I cannot stress that enough. We are totally focused on privacy, and if your information is going to be shared, you're going to know, but this is not going to be shared publicly. This is just so we know who owns this company or who's in charge of this company in our client portal. So you're going to put in your first name, you don't have to put in a middle name, put in your last name, email address, phone. Those are required fields, so the ones with stars on it. That required fields thing is always on at the bottom, so it doesn't mean that there's an error message. You should be able to proceed after you've put in your first name, last name, email, and phone. Now, if you've already come to us before and have a login, maybe you're working on someone else's computer, you're in incognito mode or whatever, if you have a username and password, then you would put that in here to log in. So it's going to be either or, that or in the middle. You don't have to sign up again. You log in with that username and password. Sometimes people have multiple companies, like you have a company with your friend Steve, you've also got a company with your friend Susie. Maybe you don't want those in the same client portal. That's totally fine. So in that case, what you would need to do is you set up a second account with a different email address, right? It could make it a little more difficult to manage them. You're not going to see them in one place, but that's a solution when you've got potentially different partners. You don't want to know about what's going on. So usually though, people, if you've been to our site before, use that login information and get right into your portal. So assuming that you have selected Wyoming and assuming that you chose start a new company, you're going to now have to make a decision about your entity type. There's a couple of different options here. We've got LLC options, corporation options, series LLC options, and 401k LLC options. Our most common, our most popular type of entity to form is going to be an LLC. In Wyoming, there's actually two different types of LLCs. There's a close LLC, and then there is a regular LLC. So a close LLC has all of the features of a regular LLC, but it also has some enhancements that from a asset protection, tax, privacy, are superior. Close LLCs are, as an attorney, what I really recommend for the overwhelming majority of my clients. And the reason I recommend a close LLC is because they're very light requirements in terms of record keeping. There's significant restrictions on the transfer of close LLC membership interests. They were created by the Wyoming legislature. They called them kitchen table companies because it would often be a couple of friends or a husband and wife or siblings who would form these companies. And of course they didn't have extensive business records, but it still deserved limited liability protection. You would want to choose a regular LLC if there's a situation where, maybe you've got a larger group of individuals who are forming the LLC together, or maybe you're getting some outside investors who are looking for some more protections for them. Generally, an LLC is going to be the best place to start when you're starting your company. It's more flexible than a corporation. An LLC has just members potentially, or members and managers. So you have either one or two layers of ownership and management of the company. So it is easier in that regard. If you wanted to choose an LLC, you would click on that, and then it'll take you to the next page where you're going to make some additional choices and decisions. The corporations are a more complex type of entity. They're also less flexible. So in a corporation, you have shareholders. Those are the actual owners of the company. You then have a board of directors. The board of directors is appointed or voted on by those shareholders. The board of directors then appoints or hires officers of the company. With a very small company, it can be, as you can imagine, it can be fairly cumbersome and add a lot of work for you if you choose a corporation and it's just you. Well, you're the one shareholder, you're the one board member, and you're the one and the only officer of the company. It can be challenging to keep up with the records. And one of the problems is if you don't keep up with the records, it can be held against you. It could make it easier to pierce the corporate veil. So if you don't treat the entity with respect, then it may be easier for someone to come and hold you personally accountable for the activities of the corporation. A closed corporation can sort of remedy some of that in terms of the record keeping. There's lighter record keeping requirements for a closed corporation, but there is still the issue of it needing to have shareholders, board of directors, and officers, and so that can be more challenging for someone to set up. If you do need a corporation, though, we're very happy to assist you, and we offer a full slate of services in Wyoming to assist you with running your corporation. Series LLC. Series are a complex type of entity. They're often misunderstood. I definitely recommend calling in, speaking to our intake specialists before you form a Series LLC. I've done a number of videos related to Series LLCs, and I think there's some really interesting use cases for them. But for the overwhelming majority of people, a Series LLC is not going to be appropriate. So please talk to our team before proceeding down this route. We also have a closed Series LLC, which again has the benefits of the close, those kitchen table companies. If there's just one or two people, that would, again, if you are going down the Series route, in most cases, I would recommend a close Series LLC. And then getting even sort of, I guess, into the weeds a little bit more here, more complex, we have some 401k and IRA LLC series and close series options. So these are often misunderstood. There's a lot of confusion about how they work and what you can do with them. And this is really not the venue to get into all of those details. We do have a number of pieces we can send to you to explain the process. And again, before you proceed, especially considering the cost of these, before you proceed down this path, I would highly recommend you speak to one of our intake specialists or perhaps schedule a consultation with one of our attorneys. So let's go back up to our LLC options, and we're going to choose a close LLC. Again, that's recommended. And we are going to then go to continue to company information. So the next part of the company ordering process is going to be choosing a company name. Very important. The company name should represent what it is the company's doing, represent perhaps your brand. I usually don't recommend, if you're looking for privacy, to name it something that is too close to your personal name, right? I wouldn't call it Jonathan Feniak LLC unless I want everyone to know that it was my company. So if you're seeking privacy, choose something that does not include something that is close to or would allow someone to identify you. I recommend that name be unique. And what does it mean by unique? Well, most one-word names and common phrases are already going to be taken. A lot of companies have been formed in Wyoming. A lot of companies have been formed all over the United States. And so what I think usually is if you have 3 words, you're probably pretty good shape. If for some reason that name is already taken, then we will go automatically to your alternative name. This is your preferred name if the first name's not available. Make it different, perhaps add another word. And then you have to choose your business ending. You've got a couple of choices on that business ending, right? So you got LLC, LLC with periods, limited liability company, LTD, so on and so forth. So you have these choices, you can make those choices. So what that means, you don't need to include the LLC, and don't include the LLC in either this preferred name field or the alternative name field. I'm going to call my company Jonathan Feniak LLC. And then I'm also going to choose Jonathan N. Feniak LLC as my alternate name, just in case there's some other Jonathan Feniak out there. Now we get to the second part, and the second part is for the LLC management type. This has to do with who is going to operate the company on a day-to-day basis and manage the affairs of the company. In a member-managed company, all the members have authority to manage the affairs and operations of the company. You basically have management and ownership vested in the same individuals. I'm not a big fan of member-managed LLCs because it can create, there's been some horror stories related to member-managed LLCs that I've heard about when I'm talking to clients. I prefer a manager-managed LLC, and even if the managers are the same people. So if me and my friend Steve are forming a company together and we're 50-50 partners, I still would like to have Jonathan and Steve as the members and Jonathan and Steve as the managers. This would also allow us in the future, if we bring on, someone who's a manager of the company, we want to give them some authority to do things related to the company, but they're not owners, we could make them a manager. And so they would have, if Steve and I want to go hang out on the beach, we could bring in our friend Susie. Susie could then be a manager of the company, and while we're away, she would have full authority to do what was ever needed related to the company. So I do recommend manager-manage. I think from an asset protection standpoint, it's also superior, because in the event that you're personally being sued, you may be forced to take action related to your LLC that you don't want to take. But if you're not the manager, you wouldn't have the power to take that action. So you could resign your position as manager, put your brother-in-law in place as the manager of the company during the period that your company's being sued, and he could run things while you're focused on that litigation. So I do believe manager-manage is superior, so I'm going to choose that here. So if you're a manager-managed company, which again is my recommendation for asset protection purposes as well as control and flexibility in the future, then you will then put in the names of the managers of the company. So obviously we know one of the managers here is going to be me, my last name there. And then if I wanted to add an additional manager, I could add an additional manager by clicking additional manager. Now let's say I have a professional, my friend already has a holding company, and his company is going to be a manager of this newly formed company. He's got Steve's Jones LLC. So now there would be 2 managers. One would be Jonathan Feniak as an individual, and then my friend's company would be another manager of the company. This is somewhat unusual, but it's totally fine with an LLC to have an an entity as a manager. You could also have just an individual's name. But here we're going to go with Jonathan, just to give some a little more unusual scenarios, show you what they look like. We have 2 managers, and then who are the members? So they don't have to be the same. The members and the managers do not have to be the same. So we'll have Jonathan Feniak as one manager. And then maybe we have a member. We'll have the member, this won't be Steve Jones's company, but maybe Steve Jones will own this in his personal name here. So now we scroll back up, we can see we've got 2 managers, Jonathan Feniak as an individual, and then Steve Jones LLC as a company are managers, and then the members, Jonathan Feniak and Steve Jones. If you wanted to add any more, I can add, I think, an unlimited number. A little strange if you've got a heck of a lot of members or a heck of a lot of managers. Most of our companies are just going to be a couple of financial associates or friends. But then we click on the additional services and we'll see what other choices we have. The next step in the process is going to be the additional services page, and this is where you're going to make your selections. What additional services do you want for Jonathan Feniak LLC? That's my company. And I'm not going to go through all of the options here. There's plenty of information available on our website. Or if you have questions about each of the individual options, you should talk to one of our intake specialists. They are highly trained on these and give you all the details. But one that I do want to focus on here is the EIN. So an EIN is like the social security number of your company. It really is the gateway to making this a real company. You won't be able to open up a bank account. You won't be able to likely do business with other businesses because they're going to ask for something called a W-9, which lists the EIN number of your business. So you need an EIN number. You can go get an EIN yourself at the IRS website, and it's free. It can be complicated though. There's a lot of questions related to getting an EIN. It can also be a slower process potentially to get an EIN. I've even seen people, they thought they were at the IRS website and they got tricked into spending $150, $200, $500 to get an EIN when it's something you can actually get it for free from the IRS. What this does for you though is it makes it very easy, right? With a couple of clicks, a couple of questions, we're going to get it and we're going to make sure it's right. And that's really the goal of just about everything we're doing, is making sure that it's done correctly. It also makes it easier to open up a bank account, right, with us. So if we have a number of banking partners we work with, FDIC insured, they're real banks with real, all the bells and whistles. Depending on what the company does, we work with a number of different banks. But if you get the EIN from us, we supply that directly to the bank for you. We also supply to the bank all of your formation documents, everything they need about your company. So that part is done for you. You're going to have to then just prove who you are. Talk to them about and prove to them that, I'm actually Jonathan Feniak, here's my ID, here's my passport, my social security number, and so on. And so it's really going to make it a very fast process, because if you go to a bank other than one of our partners, they don't know if your company was formed. Especially if you chose the privacy options, they are going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to ask you to prove who the owner of the company is. We provide that information to our banking partners. They know who's involved with the company, and because of our relationship of trust, then we can get that account opened for you more quickly. So not getting the EIN would definitely delay the bank account opening process. Even if you were to get an EIN on your own and then have us open up the bank account with one of our partners, unfortunately, because the EIN letter that the IRS provides doesn't come directly from us, they need to verify it, and so it can add a significant delay to the process. So we're going to assume that you're getting an EIN. Check out the other options, some interesting stuff there for sure, and then you're going to continue to check out. Oh, what does it say? I got to choose one of these options. Okay. Very important, EIN or foreign EIN. I'm glad it brought me back to this. It gave me the error message, told me to fix it. So if anyone in the company has a social security number, choose the EIN option, right? We only need one person with a social security number. If it's you and some of your friends from France and Dubai and Buenos Aires who are forming the company, choose the option for a social security number, because that is a very fast process. Unfortunately, a foreign EIN, if no one in the company has a social security number, it's got to be faxed into the IRS. They take forever, and it could be like weeks or months. If anyone in the company has a social security number, then you should definitely choose that EIN option. So I chose that, it found my error, and now we go on to our contact information and payment page. None of this information, and I cannot stress this enough, none of this information is going into the public records. We are required by law to maintain information about our clients. We need their name, email address, their physical address, and phone number. We cannot accept a P.O. box here. That's not permitted. By law, it has to be a physical address. Again, cannot stress it enough, this is not going into a public record. This person needs to be a natural person. It needs to be an actual living individual. You can't put an entity down as this contact information. All that's written there at the top for you to see and remind you, all of these fields here are required. We need that first name, last name, email address, regular address, city, state, zip code, country, and phone number. None of this is going to be listed publicly. You enter that information, and then you will add in a new credit card if you don't have one already on file with us. Assuming this is your first time ordering, you would not have one. Add a new card here. Put the country in which you are a resident, United States, card number, expiration, CVC, zip code. We process all of our transactions through Stripe. Stripe is one of the largest payment processors in the country. Your data is stored safely there. We are not saving it in our systems. We pass it on to Stripe, and they are the repository for that information. We are using HTTPS. By providing this information, you agree that we can charge your card. You'll see there's two last boxes to check. One is a confirmation. It's in yellow. It's a warning to you. It's saying, I've chosen to form Jonathan Feniak LLC in Wyoming. It's very important. Sometimes people inadvertently choose the wrong name. Sometimes they inadvertently choose the wrong state. We make you check and confirm it because our systems are very efficient. And once you hit confirm, it could be a matter of minutes, could be a couple hours, but your company will be formed very quickly. Once we spend that money with the secretaries of state, we're on the hook for it. You can't undo the order. The die is cast, as they say, and you will be the owner of that company. So please make sure you are checking the information here. If you have any issues, you can go back. You also have to read and accept the terms of service and privacy notice. We take privacy very seriously. Our terms of service are very fair. You can click on the links there to review them. Check the box, and then you will click place order, and your order will have gone through. Thank you very much for trusting us with the formation of your company. We take what we do very seriously. We are an attorney-run firm, and we are attempting to give you the best possible products and services at a very fair and reasonable cost. We look forward to serving you as your registered agent and with all of the additional products and services we offer through our client portal. We're very excited for you to get into the client portal and see what else is available. And we're also very excited to continue to serve you for any other companies you may form in the future. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope it put your mind at ease. If you are forming your company while you followed along with this video, you're done. We'll take it from here, and our team will review your information and contact you with any questions. Be on the lookout for emails from our team. If you have any additional questions, please call us. We have a team of intake specialists based here in the U.S. who are ready to answer all of your questions. Thank you for your business.